Welcome to Rise to Lead, the podcast where heart-driven leaders come together to inspire and innovate. They will share actionable tips and insights that help you lead your team more successfully, advance your career or business as a leader, achieve greater impact, and experience deeper fulfillment. I'm your host, Regina Huber, guiding you through deep conversations about leadership that's rooted in service, freedom, and the desire to leave a positive mark on the world. We are up with another episode of Rise to Lead. And today I'm absolutely honored to introduce another amazing podcast guest and host to you today. She's both a guest and a host, Rosie Zilinskas. Welcome, Rosie, and everyone listening too. You are in the right place because Rosie is gonna enlighten you with her wisdom. And I'm really curious to find out more about her framework. Welcome, Rosie.
Hey, Regina, thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on the kickoff of your podcast. This is very exciting. So I'm all here to talk about anything you want to talk about today.
Thank you so much. And I've actually already recorded quite a few episodes, so we're going to release them weekly. When people are hearing your episode, our episode, I should say, then they will already have been able to listen to some other episodes as well. So that's actually good because hopefully we are already reaching a lot more people when you're on. So I'm so thrilled to have you on as an awesome leadership and career expert. I'm glad I could extend this invitation to you as I was also actually on your podcast, which is called No Woman Left Behind. And I was on twice.
Once.
I thought we did a follow-up episode.
No, just the ones.
Oh, okay. So I'm mixing that up. I am so sorry. But there's always that possibility. Also here, by the way. Anyway, yes, I was so convinced right now. All right, no one's perfect. Good lesson. Let me introduce you to our audience and then we'll dive right into today's topic, expert strategies on confidence building. I love this topic because leaders without confidence are doomed to fail, right? Leaders need confidence or else we may remain unseen or ignored. And we might actually never be able to apply our leadership potential. Right?
Absolutely.
So who is Rosie Zilinskas, first of all? Rosie is the driving force behind the No Woman Left Behind initiative, which is dedicated to empowering women in the corporate world. As a certified high-performance coach with over 3 decades of corporate leadership experience, Rosie offers a wealth of knowledge through her high-performance coaching and the No Woman Left Behind podcast. With a focus on building confidence in the strategic career roadmap, I'm so curious to find out more about that. She guides women to overcome professional challenges and achieve recognition. Her work is fueled by her executive insights from a Fortune 500 insurance company, aiming to close the gender gap and foster inclusivity. Rosie is committed to creating a more empowered society by inspiring women to embrace their power and brilliance. I love that. I'm all about embracing our power and brilliance. And I know that what you have to share is also relevant for a lot of our male listeners, actually. So if you're listening and you're a man, stay on. Knowing Rosie, I promise you will get value from this too. So Rosie, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what else we should know about Rosie Zilinskas that was not included in the bio that I just read.
Yeah, well, Regina, thank you so much for reading that. I appreciate it. And it sounds really good too. Well, One of the things that I'm really passionate about these days is empowering women in the corporate world. And so that's what's driving my passion. I'm married. My kids are 23 and 26 almost. My son's actually getting married in September. So when they were in high school, I kind of started looking to contribute, to serve. And it started by I became a career coach. It started by me volunteering and knowing that so many people were really wanting to learn to figure out how to advance their careers. And it wasn't like I one day decided, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be a career coach. It was little baby steps, the progression. And then all of a sudden, it was almost like I was pushed in the direction that I'm working in now. And I love working with women, and I also work with some men as well. But I think the biggest thing for me is it just lights me up when I know that one of my clients, I actually just had one of my clients, we did the high performance certification program, and she landed a job. And she said that she landed that job largely because of the work that we did, because we peeled back the onion. We worked for 12 weeks and we peeled back the onion, and that brought her so much confidence. So it's absolutely fabulous to see people thriving from the work that you do with them. So that's a little bit more about me right now.
Great, great, great. So how do you work with your clients typically? You said 12 weeks. Is that like the usual time period that clients sign up to work with you? Or do you have any other typical durations of your programs?
Yeah, so the certification, or I'm sorry, the high performance program is every 12 weeks we can continue working together, but it's 12 different topics that we talk about for those 12 weeks, and we meet weekly. And I also have a membership. So the membership is ongoing. So we have different themes that we talk about. So this month we're talking about job search optimization with AI. And so we're talking about resumes and how to use a resume and how to use AI and all that stuff. Last month, we talked about personal branding. The month before that, we talked all about confidence. So every month we have a theme, and then people come in and we meet 4 times a month. And I have open office hours that people can come and just ask any question. So those are a couple of things that I do.
I love that. And it's actually very similar to a program that I have designed and not launched yet, but a little bit different duration and all of that, and slightly different topics. It's more geared toward leadership skills, although of course you also include some of those too. I'm sure you do. Now, it's just a different, just a different framework. Everybody does it in their own way, but this sounds really, really intriguing. So thanks for sharing that. And I'm sure it's super successful.
Yes.
Great. That's always lovely to hear. Isn't it so exciting when clients have successes? I mean, it always makes my day when something
It's
big
wonderful.
happens, even also something small, but the big things are just really awesome.
Yes, it's wonderful when you see other people thriving from the work that you're doing. So absolutely.
I love that you use the word thriving
Yes.
because I have that one formula. I call it the thriving leader formula. It's not
Okay.
necessarily a program, but it is like a framework as well. So yes, I find it so important that people don't only have this monetary success or the title, but
Mhm.
everything they that comes with success, ideally, like fulfillment, impact, feeling happy, not feeling stressed out every single day, and all these
Right.
things, right? It's so important. So tell us why you're potentially passionate about heart-centered leadership. I'm hoping you are, because this podcast is a lot about heart-centered leadership. And what does that even mean to you? Because it might, of course, mean different things to different people.
Right. Well, for me, heart centered leadership is about working with employees, but seeing them as human beings, not seeing them as just employees, because when you don't recognize the person for a human being that has a life outside of work, you're missing so much of the person, and you're missing those relationship points that you can connect through, whether it's family, people getting married, people retiring, whatever the situation is, recognizing as people. So when I used to manage quite a few years ago, but I always made it a point to go to my teammates' desks and just say, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on? How are the kids? How is fantasy football or whatever the person was into?" Just to have some kind of relationship with the person as a human and not just as the boss to employee relationship. And then the other thing that I believe wholeheartedly is you need to try to be compassionate. You need to try to be understanding. And you really need to share information with your team as best as you can, obviously within the constraints of the business. But the more transparent you are with your team and the people that report to you, the easier it is to get them to trust you, and then the harder they work, because if they like you and they trust you, they will work harder for you. And you've heard this saying before, that people leave managers, they don't leave jobs, they leave leaders, not positions. So that's a little bit about what that heart-centered leadership means to me.
Yes, I really like that a lot. You talked about life being, I call it a holistic phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because we artificially compartmentalize our lives into the different areas, but we are that one package that has all these different facets of lives, and we go through those experiences most of them every single day, or many at least, right?
Yes.
Family, friends, work, and it's all a part of that holistic phenomenon called life.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. I also really like that you talked about compassion.
Mm.
Compassion is found in the heart, just like courage is found in the heart.
Yes.
Yes. We might find confidence in other ways in our mind, through our mindset, but courage is mostly found in the heart, because it's in combination with confidence, it's a great thing. The courage is more like doing it despite the fear. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
You know what else about compassion, Regina, is that sometimes managers think that they have to be hard because they have to have that delineation of, like, I'm the manager, you're the employee.
Mhm.
But when they lead with compassion and people see that they really care about them, it just completely redefines the dynamic of the entire corporate culture or small business culture, whatever they're in.
Yeah.
But you can still be a good leader and lead with compassion, lead with love, love for your human being employees. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that a lot, especially, males in the corporate world, think that they have to be this hard, cold individual to be respected, when they can attract more, flies with honey instead, instead of vinegar. So just being compassionate towards your human employees is just, I think it's essential.
It absolutely is. I couldn't agree more. I think we speak very much the same language,
Yeah.
Rosie. Because if you mention love, hardly anybody does that in the business world, and I do too. I wrote this article once, which is called "The New Business Consciousness of Love, Compassion, and Co-Creation." That's what
Mm,
it's called. So
awesome.
yes, and it is important to speak about it, just like it's important to speak about energy in business, and not enough people, or we don't do it enough. Let's just put it that way, because it's so key for presence and for everything we do, really, because our energy fuels anything we do, everything we do, we think and we say, right? So it's just another example. Yes, and you also mentioned trust, which is, of course, key for engagement, higher engagement. Everybody wants higher team engagement.
Hmm.
We need to lay the foundation for that, right, Rosie? Would you
Yes.
agree?
If your team doesn't trust you, you're never going to be able to develop them professionally, because if they don't trust you, then how are they going to feel or think that you have their best interest in their job? And a lot of people think that, your manager holds largely your career in their hands. And if you don't trust your manager, then my recommendation is get a different manager or get a different job, because you need to be able to count on that manager to have your back. You need to be able to count on that manager to rely on what they hear from other managers. Job openings, for example. And if you let them know that you're looking for the job or that you're ready for another opportunity, you want to know that they are looking out for you and that they'll let you know about other opportunities. But if you don't trust them, then you may as well be toast, because it's just nothing's going to happen in that situation.
You're so right. I speak to so many people who often say that, well, it was all great until my manager left. And then we got a new person and everything changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed. And now they are ready for new opportunities outside their organization, or at least outside their team. Right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that totally coincides with the experience of so many people. Now, let's hone in a little bit more on today's main topic, expert strategies on confidence building. Now, confidence is, of course, essential for leadership and business success. How can we enhance our confidence, Rosie? What are maybe some steps for that, or what can we do?
Well, there's quite a lot when it comes to confidence, right? But a lot of times the women will come to me and they're like, "Okay, Rosie, can you help me build my confidence so that I can start preparing to advance in my career?" And I always say to them, it's actually a interchanged, or I said an interlocking process, where as you start preparing yourself to advance in your career, every step, and this is where the custom career roadmap comes in, every step of your journey gives you that confidence. So it's kind of like a parallel dual process that kind of goes up the same way. So it's not, I'm going to get confident first and then I'm going to work on my career. And it's also not, I can just prepare for my career and not work on confidence. Again, it's an interlocking process. And one of the things I think people don't realize, especially women, is that your career needs to be managed with intention. You cannot leave your career on autopilot and then get prepared and then gain confidence, because neither of those things are going to happen if your career is on autopilot. So I always, tell people that I empower women to advance in their careers, but it has to be done with intention and confidence. So I don't know if you want me to go into the custom career roadmap now, because it's kind of part of this as
Yeah,
well.
we'll definitely do that. Just now, I just really wanted to pick up that idea again that the two feed each other.
Yes.
Your efforts in your career, your intentional action taking fuels your confidence or feeds your confidence, and then it becomes this virtuous circle, right? Or cycle. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what happened to me. And the reason why I do this process is because I lived it. When I was 40, I was ready for that management position, but I never actually communicated it to my manager. And then once I did, then things started happening for me. And then the next time that I went to get a promotion or to, seek that opportunity, I did it completely different. I did a 180. I started talking to all the leaders. I started doing a lot of different things, which is how I came up with my custom career roadmap. But it's incredible how much confidence. I mean, it was about a 6-month process. And when I was done interviewing and I actually got the job as an executive vice president, I knew that I had something, because I was a completely different person based on my career, 6 months after that first date, that I started just doing little exercises and, a variety of things. But it is a huge improvement when you actually start working on your career with intention.
Absolutely. And also communicate that you have that aspiration, that desire. Because I know, for example, of a lawyer who never said that she wanted to be a partner in the law firm. And then she was very surprised when her male, and this is not about woman and man necessarily, but it just happened to be a guy who was made partner and she wasn't. And the difference was this guy always was saying, when I am partner, when I am partner, when I am partner,
Wow.
repeating it all the time. Everybody knew he wanted to be a partner, and it was just, he just took it for granted almost while working toward it. Yes.
Yeah.
And he never said that. And that's why. And this is actually what she was told when she asked.
Yeah. The
That interesting.
same thing happened to me when I
Yeah.
actually talked to the manager. And when I said, just want to let you know that I'm interested in management opportunity.
Mhm.
And the response that I got was, really? And I was even taken aback. I was like, what do you mean? Oh, really? At that time, I was a high performer. I was doing volunteering, training, all the things. And when I asked him, what do you mean by really? He said, well, you never said anything. I was like, it's kind of one of those, I could have had a V8
Uh-huh.
moment, where it's just like, how could I have not ever said anything to him specifically? But it was a key teaching moment for me. And that's one of the reasons why I do the work that I do today.
Wow. Yeah, great. Yeah, so I love frameworks. I definitely want to know about your framework. I've created 5 of them myself as well, mostly for leadership purposes, but also some other ones. And you, Rosie, you also provide this framework, as you had already said, or maybe several to your clients, and you craft custom career roadmaps. I'm reading this again to get it right.
Mhm.
Custom career roadmaps for your clients. And through those roadmaps, you help them align professional ambitions with personal goals. Explain what that looks like and how it works.
Yeah, so the custom career roadmap, at the beginning of the year, New Year's Eve, people always talk about writing your goals down, right? Write your goals down. Okay, well, writing your goals down is great, but you need to attach them to your desires. You like bring in that emotional component. Why do you want to advance in your career? Why do you want that particular promotion? So there's this emotional attachment, your desires, and then you marry it with goals, and then you support that with tasks and routines. And so it's a holistic process. We keep coming back to this holistic process, but there's 4 phases to the custom career roadmap. The first phase is aspiration. What is it that you aspire to do? And that's where those desires come in. You always want to try to marry the passions that you have with a job. Now, a lot of people don't know how to do that, but it's an exploration process. You need to go back to when you were a kid, what did you like? Or even in your job today, when you get lost in the work and you're actually enjoying the work, having a good time doing that one thing, what is that one thing and how can you do more of that so that you can bring in that emotional fulfillment into your job? Because we know that when people are happier at work, productivity goes up 14%. And when productivity goes up, the company's happy, the boss is happy, you get recognized. That's when you start getting, the recognition and raises. But it all comes from that aspiration. What is it that you aspire to do? So that's the first phase, that exploration, aspiration. And a lot of that has to do with journaling, working with a certified high performance coach or with a career coach, a leadership coach, because they can help you peel back the onion and figure out where you're stuck. So that's kind of like the big ticket item there.
I like
From
that a lot, especially the passion piece also, Rosie, if I might just interject that in
yes.
quick, because a lot of people like, for example, right, one of my passions is dance. It flows totally into my coaching in so many ways, because I learned so many leadership and business lessons through dance, even also business presence.
Mhm.
People think it's not related, and I'm sure everybody has some of those passions that seem to be unrelated, but they actually are related.
Yes.
So I think this is so interesting. And you also said, yes, and productivity goes up when you feel more passionate about your work, and with it also creativity.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. When you like what you're doing, ideas can pop up. So absolutely.
Yeah. But I'll let you go on.
Okay. So the second phase is where you it's assess. It's the assess phase. So this is where you're assessing your skills when you're interested in figuring out what kind of job you want to get, promotion, maybe even switch companies or switch types of industries, anything like that. So you need to assess your skills. Uh, with that comes also understanding your core values, and then you can even create a mission statement and a vision statement for yourself. So the mission is kind of, what can I do today to support that future vision? But the core values is a big one, because I'm sure you've worked with your clients on core values. And the easiest way for me to explain someone what a core value is if you are into health and you appreciate your health and you try to keep yourself healthy and your family by eating, drinking water, exercise, all that stuff, and you go and apply for a job, you're not going to go apply to a tobacco company because you know that their product causes cancer. So their core value is not going to be health, and it's not going to be in line with your core values. So you want to try to target companies where your core values are either in line or somewhat aligned with their core values. So, and a lot of people still to this day don't take the time to understand, okay, what are my core values? And that kind of goes along back to that big why. Like, why do you want this particular job? What is it that you aspire to do? So the second phase is that assessing. And with that comes a lot of, you assess your transferable skills, your knowledge skills. Like if you want to be a doctor, you want to go to medical school. If you want to be a lawyer, you want to go to law school. And then even like creative skills, kind of like you with dance, you can actually use some of those creativity activities and bring them into your work. So that's phase two, where you assess where you are and where you want to go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes, totally. I
Okay.
totally get that. And core values are so important. You should know at least the top two.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then
And
we are
then we
going
have
on.
phase three, which is this is where you get advice. And so there's kind of a couple of tiers of getting advice. So the first level is go to your manager, seek feedback on your performance. Where do they see you have strengths, and then where are the gaps? The second tier of advice is going to your peers. And then what you're going to do with your peers, and hopefully these are people that you have worked with in the past, and you can say, hey, you know what, I'm working on myself. I really want to develop myself for future opportunities. I've worked with you on a couple of projects. The important key here is to ask them to be fully transparent and honest, because if you give them that permission, hey, you know what? I know this is probably not an easy thing for you to do, but I really need you to be fully honest with me because it will help me improve. And then the questions that you're going to say is, what do you think I do really well in my job, in my skills? And what are the things that you think I'm falling short on? And what can I do better? And then when you give them that permission, they will give you that feedback much more forthcoming, instead of, do I really say something? Like, how honest does she want me to be? Or, things like that.
Mhm.
And then the third tier is going to senior leadership people. And that's what I did all this. Everything that I'm talking about, I did it all. But going to senior leaders and kind of doing the same thing. But with the senior leaders, you're going to let them know, yes, you're looking for development opportunities, but the key difference there is, how did you do it? What did you do that you think I could apply to my career? And then from each of those senior leaders, you'll get one little golden nugget of information that then you can take and apply to your career. So that advice, again, and you can even do this with your family if you want to, but it's really important to do it with people that have seen you operate professionally so that they can give you that advice. So that's that feedback. So that's phase 3. And then finally, the last phase, which is phase 4, this is where you want to advertise the fact that you are ready for new opportunities. And this is back to my story. This is what I didn't, and that lawyer that you talked about, we didn't do, because you can do all the work for phase 1, 2, or 3, but if you don't go out and intentionally tell people, hey, you know what, I'm looking for new opportunities. This is where a mentor, an advocate, a sponsor can help you get those opportunities. But you need to be vocal. You need to be using your network to say, I'm looking for opportunities. Let me know if there's anything out there. And the advertising is using your network within your organization, outside of your organization. And I always want to remind people, don't forget about your family and friends, because you think of your network and you may not necessarily think of your family and friends, but they need to know that you're looking for opportunities too, because you never know if they know somebody that knows somebody that, you know, could use your skills. So that is what I call the custom career roadmap. It's different for every single individual, but once you're done creating all of that, putting that all together, Regina, your confidence is through the roof, because you have learned so much about yourself that then you can work on. And part of all that is also working on your resume and your professional branding statement. That's all kind of part of the assess section as well. But those are like tactical things that pretty much everybody knows that you need to do. All the other stuff around them, not everybody knows that you need to be intentional about those pieces. And then when you're done, when you have your custom career roadmap done, then you are what I call promotion ready. And then when that next opportunity comes up, then you are ready to go.
Okay, great. So for our readers, just quickly, the 4 steps are for our readers, for our listeners, sorry. I'm reading because I wrote it down. The first step is aspiration, then it's assess, then advice, and 4 is advertise. Aspiration, assess, advice, and advertise. They all start with an A. Love it, love it. And it makes so much sense, Rosie, so much sense. Lists and journaling is always an amazing way to start when it comes to building your confidence. For example, also one thing that I do, which is pretty similar to what you do, is I have my clients make lists of what I call their unique assets. You know, those all talent, skills, strengths, personality traits that others appreciate in them, studies, transformative stories, all sorts of things, really, right? But we gotta be clear on them, because we have all this, but oftentimes we are not even aware of it. We forget about it.
Absolutely. Well, and the people that actually do the work, they recognize the power of another piece that we talk about is creating your script or crafting your script. So when you go talk to all those leaders, have those powerful words, have your the ability to explain who you are, that personal branding statement. All of those pieces are all part of the custom career roadmap. But once and here's the last thing that I want to say about this. It's not a simple process. This is going to be a journey. This is going to be a holistic process where, again, you're learning about yourself, and it's going to take time. There's no possible way for you to do everything in a week, let alone even a month. But if you give yourself 6 months or maybe even a year, if you're not in a hurry, if you have a job and you're somewhat content, but you know you want to start looking, then Start today. Schedule 1 hour a week or maybe a 2-hour block a month, whatever fits, whatever cadence fits in your schedule. But start doing something, because 1 or 2 hours a month is better than doing nothing for, 3 years. And then you need a job and then you're scrambling, starting from scratch and not knowing where to go or who to go to. So little bits at a time, but be consistent and persistent and intentional, and it'll be transformative.
It even reminds me of a parallel for entrepreneurs when they craft their messaging and their branding message. It's also not done in a day.
Yes.
Yes, it's a process. You go network, you test your what sometimes is called your elevator pitch or whatever people call it. And you test whether the message lands. And when you talk about scripts, it's a process. You also need to test those scripts to see, do they even work? Do people even get the message? Do they understand what I want to say or what I want to bring across to them?
And the other thing I wanted to bring up too is the power of artificial intelligence now can help you with all these building blocks, because this is exactly what you're doing. You're building blocks of you and how you are able to explain yourself when you're in an interview. And there's a couple of things that I want to say regarding the interview. When people ask you, why do you want to work here? The big thing is, I want to help you meet your goals. Like, that's like literally a golden phrase. When you tell a hiring manager that you want to help them meet their goals, their ears perked up and they're like, well, wait a minute, you want to help me meet my goals? And then the second thing is we work on what I call the story vault. And you can answer, 10 to 20 behavioral interview questions. You pick the top 5 to 7 accomplishments, and then you turn those accomplishments into a story. And then those 5 to 7 accomplishments are the ones that you're going to be talking about constantly within an interview. But sometimes they'll ask you a question that you don't know the answer to. And instead of saying, well, I don't know, or I can't think of anything, you'll say, you know what, I'm not sure about that, but, and then you pull in one of your stories from your story vault, and then you answer it without answering that particular question, but you still come across as confident because you have a relevant story that you can hit them with. And then when you send them the thank you note within 24 hours, you go back and you think about that one question that they asked you that you didn't know, and then you address it there.
This is brilliant, because this is also something actually that entrepreneurs can relate to too. And we also have entrepreneurs among our listeners, of course, because entrepreneurs have story vaults as well.
Absolutely.
Speakers have story vaults.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And it's always a great idea to answer with a story because it's very engaging.
Exactly.
Stories are remembered because they are memorable, right? And usually sometimes they also have an emotional element. Maybe in this case, not always, but sometimes they do. And whenever we make people feel a certain way, they also remember the story more easily. Okay, and then also you said something else about help them with their goals. Yes, it's all about them. Yeah, make it about them, not just about yourself. Of course, you also will talk about what your aspirations are, and you will talk about your strengths and so on. However, if you can make it about them, that's always a plus. Absolutely. Yes. That is great stuff. Great stuff, Rosie. Really, really good. Really, really good. So I have another question. What's something that someone can do right now to enhance their confidence? Let's just say they have something important coming up tomorrow and they don't have time. They don't have 12 weeks to work with you right now. Can you share like a quick technique or tool? Like, somebody could be, for example, preparing for a challenging situation or an interview, job interview, or presentation that they are really nervous about. What can they do
I think the biggest thing that I would say in that particular situation is make sure that you're speaking in statements and not questions, and do not apologize for things that are not your fault. A lot of times people, especially women, are like, "Hey, I'm sorry, can I ask you a question?" And my response when I was in the corporate was like, "Why are you sorry when you're asking a question? You know, don't apologize. Don't over apologize. Apologize when it's necessary, but don't over apologize." The speaking in statements is really critical. And along with that is just, if you have an interview tomorrow, then the words that you use are going to be critical. So make sure that you are using powerful words, even like yes and no in a very confident manner makes a big difference. Looking at the individual straight in their eyes and a strong handshake. So I know that's more than one, but those are a few things that you can do today to prepare for tomorrow.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that. Any last words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience today? Anything that we haven't touched on? Anything that...
Actually, yes. There is a book that came out in February by Jamie Kern Lima. She is the founder of It Cosmetics. And when she started her business, she was devastated because she kept getting rejected. And over the years, her persistence paid off. And she sold her business for, I think, like $1.2 billion or some craziness like that. But the book that she wrote, Regina, is called Worthy. And it's a fantastic book. And the reason why I bring this up is because she has I'm going to call it a poem at the beginning of her book. And she talks about self-worth versus self-confidence. And self-worth, the way she describes it, is think of a house, and the foundation of the house is the self-worth, where it's your inner strengths, your love for yourself. So the foundation, it's like cement, and it's reinforced with rebarb, and it's just solid. So that's your self-worth. Self-confidence comes, so that's all internal, but self-confidence comes from external triggers. So for example, if someone gives you constructive criticism, it might be like someone throwing that rock through that window. Well, what do? You need to go and patch up that window, fix it. Same thing with when someone gives you constructive criticism, take the criticism. Yes, it's going to sting because we're all human beings. Dust yourself off, and then take that criticism and use it as a learning tool to become better and to develop whatever it is that they gave you, to develop yourself. So use that as, instead of kryptonite, use it as your a Thor hammer to make you better. So I think that book is fantastic. Jamie Kern Lima also has a brand new YouTube show. She has some pretty amazing guests. So that is a must-read book.
Thanks for the book tip. And again, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful insights and tips. It's been wonderful to have you on, and know our listeners will benefit from this. Also, the entrepreneurs, not just the people in corporate careers. To everyone listening, check out Rosie's podcast and stay awesome. Be bold, be heart-centered, be courageous, be confident, and show up for our next episode. I have many more amazing guests lined up for you, and you cannot miss what they have in store for you. Again, thank you, Rosie.
Thank you, Regina. This was lovely.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Rise to Lead. Keep shining your light, standing up for what's right, and inspiring others to step into their brilliance. If you like this episode, please give it a 5-star rating and subscribe to the Rise to Lead podcast on your preferred podcast app. Until next time, it's Regina Huber, and in the meantime, remember to rise to lead.